Hello and welcome to another episode of the Duke Pod. I am a local real estate agent here in the GTA and we're talking real estate stories. Now, I gotta tell you guys something. I was watching the Jays last night. I actually had to go to my own men's hockey league, so I missed the first half of the game. But I was watching the team yesterday. Amazing win. Kudos to our guys. One game away, one victory away from winning the World Series. Unbelievable. And what's really happening behind the scenes is that at some point this year, everything clicked. And now when we look back at it, it makes sense. The players, how they came together, their good defense, and they're trending. They're trending. This is the trend. And the reason why I'm talking about this first and foremost is it's very exciting. Even if you're not a baseball fan, if you're a Canadian, it's unbelievable. And if you're an American, a lot of you guys want the Dodgers to lose, so that's great. But the reason I'm telling this and why I'm going to go full circle with this is that a lot of times in my business, I'm sitting here, like I'm sitting in my office right now, and or I'm sitting at home, and I'm thinking about what's happening. Sometimes I'm thinking about how am I going to get my next client because I've sold some homes, my clients bought some homes. I don't have a lot of active clients. Sometimes I'm thinking about how am I going to spend time with my family this week because I have 10 clients active and I'm working 70 hours a week. Both those things have happened this year, and sometimes I feel like I know the market extremely well, and sometimes I have to do a little bit more research, ask around. For some of those agents that have been very busy, if I haven't been that busy, that's just the nature of the job. There's ebbs and flows, sales come and go. Obviously, the more established you are, the harder you work, the more you hit the phones, you're more likely to get clients. But what happened in the last 3 months, so August, September, October, uh, for me at least, is that I was able to get 7 homes and sell them all. And so after that experience, and this year I think I've sold like 10 homes. So 10, 11 homes, I believe, and a few purchases. So it's been a great year for me as an individual agent. I wouldn't say this is my best year, but overall, if you could have these kind of numbers every year, and the year's not over, like I'm still actively showing homes this weekend and so forth. Who knows, right? If we can get a few more sales in. But even at this point, what I find is that I've had a very busy fall and I understand the market well. And every single house I've sold this year, there's been some lessons to learn. So in this episode, by telling you some of the stories about what happened, I'm going to give you guys some incredible tips on how to be successful selling your house in this market and potentially the beginning of 2025, 2026 as we go forward. Yesterday, the Bank of Canada on October 29th announced that they're cutting interest rates again by 25 basis points. So what we find now is that there are homes that are selling, but overall the market has been slow. Over the last 3 months, we've now seen 2 rate cuts, including the one yesterday. So 5-year fixed rates are now very available under 5%, or sorry, under 4%. In fact, they should be showing up in the 3.6 range soon, if not already. And being under 4%, it's pretty much been 4 years since that. And I do believe that eventually, I don't know if it's going to be next year, that we will see an uptick in the economy, we'll see an uptick in the real estate market, and people will want to buy homes again. But the market we're in right now, also due to the lack of a good economy, high unemployment rates, condo market just crashing, a lot of factors, buyers to take their time and potentially just bow out of the market entirely. So this year there hasn't been that many sales. In fact, we've had a record low amount of sales in certain months this year. And the reality is that it's now taken a lot longer to sell your house. It's now the more challenging job. When the market was busy, like in 2021, finding someone a home that they can buy was very difficult because every single home was competitive. Sometimes you would have 10 plus offers on a home, and the chances of you winning that bid is very, very low. Besides overspending and all that stuff, you just had to be very, very aggressive. But the selling part was very easy because you knew there was tons of buyers, and you could sell a house in like 6 hours based on how the market was back then. But everyone was holding out so they can try to get as many people in there and try to get the home sold. Um, all right, so here are my tips on how to sell a home in 2025 and probably 2026. There's probably a likelihood that some of these factors are going to be very much alive in 2026. The first and foremost thing I'm going to talk about is, in this market more than other markets, you have to think like a buyer. Okay? You have to think, what are the buyers doing? And the reality of the fact is that most homes that people are buying are going to be cookie cutter type homes. They're in big cities. Now, obviously, there's some homes that are unique, and some older homes that that maybe there's no replica of the home. But if you're looking for townhouses, there's a bunch of townhouses for sale. Mississauga, Toronto, Peel, Halton, wherever you're looking for, East End, whatever. If you're looking for semis, lots of semis for sale. Detaches, lots of detaches for sale. Condo townhouses, condos, even more of those for sale. So the reality is the buyers think a little bit differently today than they have in the past. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. So what's happening with buyers is that, and I've been giving this advice to everyone. Like, I just had a new buyer. I showed them some houses last weekend, and I said, hey, look, this is your budget. This is how much you want to spend. There's actually quite a few homes available at this budget. Now, this is a buyer that wants to look in Hamilton, and they could afford 700,000 or so. Maybe they want to spend 650. But the reality is right now in the market, there's a crap load of homes. There's like 200 homes for sale that are 650 or less. And my advice to them is, look at all the homes in your budget that you feel could be yeses or maybes, and go and look at those homes and just explore. Just go out there and explore. And the reason is that there's so many available. They're not selling very quickly. The average days on market are now 30 to 40 days, depending on the city. So that means it's going to take over a month to get your home sold on average. And so it's slow, right? And what's happening is buyers are going to every single one of these houses. Maybe not all of them, but they're going to like 20, 30 of them before they make a decision. So it's very common, even in some of my houses I've sold, that someone's come into a house, they go in and look at like 20 other houses, they come back in 2 weeks and they say, yeah, yours is the one. I've now explored. So they're looking at every single home that is available for them, and then they're determining which is the best one. So tip number one is, there's two ways that you have to put yourself mentally to sell your home. There's two methods, right? One is the buyers are looking for the best home for their budget. So if you look around and you say, if I list my house for this price, am I the best home at this price? If there's another house that's better than yours in any way, shape, or form, or cheaper, that home will definitely sell first. And your home may not sell, or it may take a lot longer, because it's just like that. Now, obviously, some people want to sell their homes and they'll move only if they get a certain price. Yes, the next step is going to be something about being realistic. But I also find that I'm telling a lot of buyers that there's generally two types of sellers in the market. One is the ones that are realistic and they're willing to sell for the fair market value. And two is the ones that will only sell if they get their price. The type of homes that have sellers that will only sell if they get their price, a lot of those homes are just straight up not selling in the market, or they're just struggling to sell. What we call the beatdown as real estate agents. And I talk to my clients all the time. Sometimes they want a certain price, and we make a deal. We say, okay, how about we try that price for a month? And if it doesn't work, we'll try my price that I recommended. And they say, sounds good. A lot of times in this market, I'm going to be fairly more accurate than any seller or any homeowner, just because I'm walking in and out of houses every day and I'm seeing how the buyers behave. All right, so full circle. One is your home the best house on the market, based on all the other ones available. Two is that some buyers are looking for the cheapest option. So the rule is kind of like, is your home the best, or is it the cheapest one available? And if your answer is yes, it is the best or it is the cheapest, your home will sell. Now, it doesn't mean your home can't sell, but if you go by that rule, you will make it a lot easier for you to understand if you're willing to accept a fair market value. It's easier to get to the valuation of your home based on comparing it. And for example, one of the houses I went to in Kitchener about 2 months back is there was actually a for sale by owner. She was trying to sell a house that's 800,000, and I was trying to convince her, hey, let me in. I'll tell you exactly what you need to sell your house. And I didn't even get that listing. Like I was just telling her, hey, look, I'm not really trying to sell your house. Of course, I'm trying to sell her house, but like, I'm not really. I was like, hey, you seem like a nice person on the phone. I'll give you free advice, absolute free. A lot of agents will give you free advice. Like free home evaluation is a common thing, right? And but obviously, if I don't meet this client and I don't go to their house, I have no chance of getting the sale. I have no chance of signing the documents and so forth. And I walk around this lady's house, and I told her, hey, it's a good idea for us to go to other properties that are similar. So I took them to three other properties. These are all, the house she had was a duplex in Kitchener, a legal duplex. So it's very pivotal to compare it to other legal duplexes that were for sale. And we went to a few, and none of them were selling. And they were like high sevens, 800, 775, something like that. And I told her, look, if none of these homes are selling, that and your house isn't better than any of these, then you have to price it lower, or else it won't sell. Now, of course, when I went to her house, it's a nice house. I love these type of homes that are like older. The homeowner has taken really good, meticulous care, just cleaning everything, make sure every furnace filter is changed in 3 months. Everything is running smoothly in the house, but it was so dated. We had two bathrooms that were pink, pink vanities, everything, pink bathtubs, pink toilets. Apparently, they're really expensive to get them made like that, like custom order, but it's all pink. And I said, I know that the buyers are going to come in here and say, oh God, I have to renovate everything. So the reality is I said, hey, look, this other house that's very similar to yours also has a double garage, also a legal duplex, similar size, sold last month. That's 750,000, and it was renovated. So not like it was absolutely immaculate, but they didn't have any pink bathrooms or anything like that. They had stand-up showers. Like we're talking about just 50 to 75,000 more in upgrades. And I told the client, look, if you list your house any more than 700,000, people will not buy your house because they'll just go to other houses and they'll just buy those, because anyone that buys your home is going to feel like they need to also put money towards renovations. So I told her your house is probably going to sell around 675 because it's going to take 75,000 to get it up to that other house at 750. And all right, we had a nice conversation. Her daughter was there. They got emotional. They've been in the house for years. Her husband passed away. I get it. That's life. I'm not here. I'm not a therapist, but I'm here to tell you the value of your home, and I'm here to tell you how to be successful in selling a house like this. A couple weeks later, I find out she listed with another agent. It's for sale for 750. Right now, as we speak, it's been on the market for 60 days. I doubt they had one offer, to be honest. It's actually become quite simple to guess, I think, within 90% confidence to 95, I would say, what's going to happen based on the strategy an agent had used to sell that type of property. And that's just one that I was like, hey, you know what? I didn't get the listing, but I'm also not in the business of listing a house that's just gonna sit there and never sell. So even if she offered to give it to me for 750, I would have said no because I know it's not gonna happen, and I'd have to beat her down on her price every month, saying, hey, we gotta drop the price, we gotta drop the price, we gotta drop the price. Now it's been 3 months on the market. You know how people really hate real estate agents? Well, I gotta tell you is that whenever someone has an experience like that, where the real estate agent agrees to list it at the price they want, even though they know, or sometimes they don't know. Like there's thousands and thousands of real estate agents. Some of them are just on the ball all the time, and they know. I would say like myself. I mean, there's more successful agents than me out there as well, but and then there's agents that are just taking whatever they business they can and hoping for the best. And if an agent ever does that where they agree to your higher price listing and it's just sitting there, and then they gotta have tough conversation trying to beat you down on the price, and finally there's an offer. That is the least fun experience a seller's gonna have, and they're gonna say, ah, it could have went better, it could have went smoother, I wish my agent just told me up front. Well, I'm telling this lady up front, and she disagreed, and the house isn't sold. Now another situation I had in Mississauga. Actually, before I tell you about that, I just want to summarize the point. The point here is that buyers are looking for the cheapest or the least expensive home on the market. And if your house is like out of date, it needs a lot of work, go to a house that's very similar, that everything's done. Calculate how much money it would cost to spend to get it to that level, and that's your price. So that's how I got 675 on a home that another home very similar was sold for 750. Not that hard, honestly. That's number one point. And honestly, going to other homes before you actually list your home would actually be a very good experience for you, especially if you try to put your buyer's cap on and pretend that you're looking at all of these and you're gonna choose your favorite ones. Like try to be unbiased. Like see what you have, what you don't have. Another house we had in Mississauga. I'll get to this one, which is my kind of like I guess this is like the third point. I talked about buyers. I talked about looking at other comparable homes, uh, and uh, and see comparing it to yours. Now I'm talking about the 50K rule. So another house I had in Mississauga in August. I did a careful analysis. There was another house. It was a townhouse, so it was easy to find comparables. And I found another one very similar that sold for 1.2 million. You're saying townhouse in Mississauga. These are like modern townhouses, so that's just how much they sell for today. And I said, hey, your house will sell for 1.2 million. And they weren't in a rush in this case. They had no home that they bought. They don't have any deadline. And they said, yeah, okay, I'm okay with selling it for 1.2, but I would like a little more. And I told them, hey, the rule in this market is do not list your house more than 50,000 above fair market value. And I said, if you're okay with that, which I am, and I think that people will still come to the house. Remember, you're not going to get offers unless people come to your house. Very, very, very unlikely. I mean, I've had helped a couple buyers buy homes without seeing them in the past, but still super rare. And a lot of times I go to that house myself if the buyer can't go because I want to see the house. I want to know everything it has. And when I'm talking to the listing agent trying to make an offer or convince them why to take our offer, I can pinpoint everything about the house that will help me in this conversation. It's just bad practice not to see a house. Like even today, yesterday, a friend of mine said, hey, how about this $3 million house in Oakville? Yeah, it's not common someone asks me, should we buy this $3 million house in Oakville? I'm not even his agent. He's just a colleague of mine on my hockey team. But I said, you know what? The only way for me to accurately tell you the value of the house, yes, I can compare it to others, but I have to go see the home and to be able to talk to you about it better. I can't just, even if you've seen it, I haven't, there's no way. It's good practice. All right, tip number 4 is going to be the $50,000 rule. And one of the houses I had sold in August, I went to the house. They were townhouses. They're luxury townhouses. They're fairly new in Mississauga, close to Lakeshore. So great location. And it was easy to find some comparables because, there's like 70 townhouses for sale in this complex. So every year, like 5 sell. And I was able to find a pretty easy, accurate comparable. And I said, look, it's worth around 1.2. And these people are in no rush. They don't have a house that they bought. They're just making different adjustments in life. They're selling. They're going to travel, whatever. Unique situation. And they said, okay, I'm okay with 1.2, but can we get better? And I told them, look, there's the $50,000 rule that really works in this market. Do not list your home more than 50,000 than the fair market value. If you do that, people are going to come. You probably are going to be okay to potentially get an offer, something that you'll be happy with. If you overprice your home more than 50,000, what the fair market value is, which is very dependent on the advice that your agent gives you, and I think in this case they actually interviewed 3 different agents. I was the third and final agent to go in there, thanks to my mom, who gave me the tip and asked him if I could call him, and I did, and I got the interview. So I guess she gave me the pitching sign, and I'm like Trey Savage, and I delivered. Not every time I get things work out as well. So, but anyways, so I told them about the $50,000 rule. They gave me the listing. We listed at 1.25, and it ultimately sold for 1.235. Funny enough, is on the 4th day on the market, we were getting plenty of showings. 2 a day, I would say. On the 4th day of the market, we got 2 offers on like 12-hour Yeah, they were like 10 hours apart or something, and both ended up being 100,000 under asking. So one was 1.125 and one was 1.1 million on a 1.25 million dollar house. We just listed, like a lot of times when sellers just list their home, if I ever take a buyer through and it's like the first, second, third day on the market, and they actually like the home and they say, "What could we buy it for?" Well, the reality is I think most sellers are hoping that they can get their price, their full price, on the first week if someone puts an offer. And anyway, so it's kind of funny that we got such low offers, but ultimately one of the buyers really wanted the house. They came up to 1.2. Now, because my seller wasn't super motivated, they wanted to potentially wait to see if they can get a better offer. I gave them the advice of, okay, these guys are serious, and the reality is that there's no guarantee we can get the same offer or even a better offer. But what I suggest is, because they're serious, let's counter the offer now at the price that you're willing to accept tonight. And they said their offer is 1.235. Countered it. I told the other agent. They thought about it for a few hours. They ultimately accepted, and the house sold. Great example. Everything was smooth. We staged the house. We made it look clean. So in this podcast, I'm really not talking about staging and cleanliness and decluttering, because those are givens. If you're able to do that in your house, or if you're unable to do that in your house, it's gonna struggle, struggle, struggle. You think of a lot of like tenant leased homes that go up for sale. Maybe the home is great, but people walk in and there's crap all over the place, and that's kind of normal. Like, even if you come to my house, I got kids. I have toys that sometimes are on the ground. Yeah, sure. I would say we tidy them up, but there are moments we come in the house might look pretty messy, and it's not going to be helpful. But those are basically automatic givens. I would always clean a house, declutter it, stage it if necessary, um, and make it look the best version of that home. In this podcast, we're just talking about strategies to help you sell in terms of pricing and things to think about in the current market that are beyond these items, right? That's an example of why the $50,000 rule works really well this day, because it's not overpriced where people won't come. Because if you price it more than 50,000, people just may not come to see the house at all. Like, I have other agents that called me. Like, I sold a house in Georgetown. I'll talk about next, where agents just weren't coming at all. And I said, he's like, I have one appointment in 2 weeks. I said, yeah, well, obviously your price is too high in this market, because the reality is, even though there's not as many buyers, there have been more buyers recently trying to buy homes to this part of the year, and interest rates are coming down, so people are starting to inquire about mortgages and looking at homes and this and that. And the rule is, if you have at least one appointment a day on your listing, on your house that's for sale, so in the first week goes by, you get at least 7 showings, you are probably priced well. If you're getting like 1 or 2 showings a week or less, your price is out to lunch, or your strategy is not good. It's going to be very slow, very daunting, very challenging. Now, of course, there are unique homes, multi-million-dollar homes, farmlands and stuff like that have very specific buyers. So I'm not going to include those, but the general type of home that you would see is going to have those issues if they're not getting at least one appointment a day. And I was thinking about this with a house I sold in Georgetown recently, where I looked at the house and I said, hey, I guess the last point was like point 4, right? I said, hey, everyone's gonna like this house when they come and see the house, because it had really big rooms. It was a semi. It was about 800. I think we listed it for 890 in Georgetown. Very nice home. It didn't have a really nice kitchen with the granite modern cabinetry. The kitchen was never changed and the bathroom was never changed. So I'm like, okay, we can't ask for some ridiculous price or some top dollar, or like we're the best semi at this price, because we can't be the best semi, because we don't have the kitchen and bathroom upgrades to back it up. But it was a big semi at 1,750 square feet plus the basement. And the most important thing with that is that the main floor is very functional, the layout is very good, and the bedrooms were all large bedrooms. When we're talking about a house in the suburbs under 900,000, under a million, and all three bedrooms seem spacious, like we're talking about 12 feet or larger, you got huge bedrooms. And huge bedrooms is a rare phenomenon for a house like that. Normally the master is big, maybe the second bedroom is pretty solid, and the third one's tiny, like a 10 by 10 or 9 by 10. And you're like, which one of my kids, or is that going to be my office? You buyers talk like that. But when we listed this house, I first said, okay, let's not do anything crazy. It's not listed low or anything like that, even though they needed to sell. And we did get an offer, but an accepted offer after 2 weeks. But the buyer screwed up in his financing, and he wasn't permitted. He wasn't. He did not get the financing from the bank, and we didn't extend his condition. So moving on, we'll put it back on the market a little bit lower price. Now it's 559, and we're getting appointments enough for one a day, but the offers are just not 100% great. There was one that came in that was for sale by home, and I'm like, this is gonna take forever. These guys already bought a house. So finally, I'm like, look, we have to adapt, and this is tip number 5 as a seller. Uh, the only two things you can do on the market once you have your home for sale. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, but the broad idea here is you can wait, and if you are in a position where you haven't bought a home, you're not in no rush, waiting is good, because I have another house that took 90 days to sell, and after the 90th day we got 2 offers and sold over asking. I'll tell you about in a second. So waiting is totally fine. But number 2 is you got to be proactive. Okay, so typically I would say I change something every month. If you don't have a house to sell, if you have if you haven't bought a house, or you're not in a rush, or you're not going through a separation, if you are, and time is sensitive, I would say make a change every 2 weeks, especially if you don't get at least one showing a day on average or close to that. I would change every 2 weeks. So once this Georgetown property, I said, hey, look, it's been 2 weeks at this new price. We got 2 offers, but nothing's accepted. We changed the strategy again. This time I did 750 offer date. A second day we got 3 offers, and it sold for 860. It sold for more than what the previous all the strategies could have brought. We've never got a single offer over 850, and now we got 860. And the reason being is that once people got into the place, they liked it, and by lowering the price enough, I got a crap load of people to go, and I think we had like 12 or 13 appointments in 2 days, and we had 3 offers at the end of the second day. Now, technically I was waiting for offers for a week, but the reality is that people don't really like offer dates anymore. Like, they don't like the idea of competing. So I just put the sellers willing to take preemptive offers. Of course, we talked about it, and that way we don't have to wait for the offer date to look at any offers. It's fair. It's right in the listing, so all the agents know about it. There's nothing about the legality of it that would hinder you. And they got a great offer. We took it with conditions. It's not like there were conditions. They still had to wait 5 business days to resolve financing and home inspection. But at this point, because the buyers that got the house, they upped their price to really get it. They were serious, and they know that if they didn't resolve their conditions, there were already 2 other offers, meaning that someone else will just get the house if they don't, and other agents were calling me and stuff. And I said, okay, great. Okay, so the last thing is be patient. Um, in a situation where you're not under the gun, stick to a price, and you need a certain price, for example, or your seller wants a certain price. Obviously, you hope that that price is realistic. But what I've been doing a lot this year, for example, I had a house where, was struggling to sell. We started at 750. This is an hour up north in Arthur, Ontario, small town, a lot less buyers out there, a slower market even. Easily could take 2 months to sell your house over there, and it did. It took 3 months, so even more than 2 months. We had it for 750, then dropped it 699. Got an offer, didn't work out. It was sold conditional, but just didn't work out. And it was crickets for a bit. Finally, I convinced the seller to drop it to 650, and he did. And we got a ton of action, a ton of appointments. We were getting offers, and we even got a 650 full price offer. And he decided that 685,000 is his bottom line. Like, he put a lot of money into the house. Like, he obviously was selling it for less than what it would have been worth years ago, but substantially less. But this is his bottom line. So what I was doing is, like, we changed the price to 685, even though it was confusing for the market. But then every single agent that called me and asked about it, I said, this is his bottom line. This is the number. If you bring me 685, I'll get it signed today. And I was just being upfront. This is the number. And sure, now there's some luck involved here, but the next agent that came in with buyers that were really wanted to see the house, they brought me an offer of 685. They just got unlucky because when I had it for sale for 650, you see the trend here. We had a ton of people come, and another group of buyers wanted to buy it, and they put in an offer. So now we had two offers on a house that was for sale for 90 days. This market is so strange. It's so confusing. And then it ended up selling for 5,000 over asking, more than any other time we've gotten. So, guys, I pinpointed a lot of unique strategies here in this market that's going to make it very helpful for you to sell your house. Think like a buyer. Go look at other comparable homes. Pick a strategy that can get people into the door. Be realistic with the market price. Be proactive if you need to be. Be patient if you need to be, and that will give you guys a lot of success in the current market. And if you have a house you want to sell, of course, here's the time I got to pitch it. That you're not sure what to do about it. Again, I'll offer you a free home evaluation. I'll come in super prepared and tell you exactly what to do and how long it's going to take. And this is what you need to be mindful of. What changes you can make to your house to improve your ability to sell your home at the price that is the best for you today. So keep that in mind. Thanks a lot. It's my first podcast episode in 5 years, and I think it's a good one. Enjoy it. Go Jays.